In July 2020, without much fanfare, Microsoft released a brand new function in Excel to succeed the functions Vlookup, xLookUp, and IndexMatch. If you're familiar with Excel at all and have been using it to look up data in tables or whatever you might be doing, you've probably come across a Vlookup or an IndexMatch at some point. So without further ado, let's just show you what this is, what it does, and how it's better. So first of all, if we begin with the Vlookup, this is probably one of the oldest methods to find things within a table, and it's subject to a few limitations. The biggest of which being your lookup value must exist in the furthest left column in that table sequence. So if I just show you how it works. So with the Vlookup, we first pick our lookup value, which in this case is the ticker for Vodafone. And we're going to look up in this table range. I'm just going to select the columns so it's easier for you to see what's going on. So columns A to F, we're going to say we're counting the columns across because the way this works is the column offset. So I'm going to pick column 4, A, B, C, D, and then I'm going to say I don't want a range lookup, so I'm going to say false here. And that gives me my price for Vodafone. So the downside of Vlookup is it is fixed with its index column on the left hand side. You can't look up something with Vlookup that has a key or a reference looking up on the right hand side. So for example, if I wanted to look up the price of the stock in rank 10, I can't do that in Vlookup without rearranging the table, as in physically moving column F back to the beginning and then doing that. So it's not best practice to be having to physically rearrange tables. So Vlookup has hit a limitation here. However, if we come to IndexMatch, that makes things somewhat easier. So if I go to index, which is my range I'm going to return the data from. So I'm going to go D for price. And then using the match function, I'm going to look up my ticker. And then in column A, and then 0 is telling it to do an exact match. And so that works the same as Vlookup. So the one advantage of IndexMatch is, if I go back to my return array, which was column D to find the price, IndexMatch is agnostic of where the lookup range is. So in this case now I can go match, take my rank value there, and then I can look up on column F, which is to the right of my return array, and I don't have a problem at all. So it's 0 for exact match. And there we go. We're able to return that value, and IndexMatch we're able to return the value, and IndexMatch doesn't mind where it's looking up from, as long as those ranges are parallel to each other and the same length. On the plus side, IndexMatch makes it very easy to look up multiple different ranges in different ways. You're not limited like Vlookup with having to have the lookup value in the first column. However, IndexMatch for even Excel experts isn't that easy to read off the bat. It's quite verbose. You've got 2 nested functions. And that's where the new xLookUp function comes into its own. So if I just given you an example, we will do the same again. Look up the ticker, column A, and then our return range, column D. So you can see right off the bat, it's very easy to read. We begin with our lookup value, our lookup range, and then our return range. It's very logically ordered. If you look back to the index match for the same value, the lookup comes last and then the return value is first. It can be a bit messy trying to then figure out, if you're under pressure, it can be quite difficult to immediately figure out what's returning what. And again, like the IndexMatch, xLookUp doesn't worry about the order of your table. So if we were to try again to get the price of rank 10 here, we can do lookup value, lookup range, and then the return range, like so. That's fine. Now, one thing that xLookUp does that IndexMatch can't do, or as far as I know can't do, is return two values from one lookup. So if I show you, if I do an xLookUp, and I want to return both the price and the change in price for Lloyd's, for example, I'll look up the Lloyd's sticker, lookup range of A, and I can select my return range, and I can select my return range as 2 columns. And you'll see now, whereas before, if I was using Vlookup or IndexMatch, I'd have to have 2 separate cells, 2 separate columns. But here, you can see this grayed out formula here is referring to my cell K13, which has my formula that's returning the values from column E and D. So where this is useful is saves you doing multiple formulas across multiple cells to return these different values. You're returning, well, if I just show you, you can also do, you can do as many return values as you want. So here I've returned the rank as well. And these values here will work like normal cells, so I can reference them as I would any other way in formulas. It's being populated from cell K13. So you can see this sort of blue outline here is showing Excel. It's linking all these cells together. But yeah, it's quite a handy bonus feature. So one other feature that you didn't have with IndexMatch or Vlookup was error handling. So say for example, I type in the ticker wrong. Now I get this horrendous looking #NA thing in all my cells. So typically what you would do is you would sanitize this with an if error function, and then you can either return the value of another cell formula or just a string. So in this case I'll say not found, like so. And I'll do the same for my IndexMatch the same way. I go if error not found. Now with xLookUp, that's built in now. So if I don't find a value with my xLookUp, I can actually in here again have a reference or a value or another formula or just a string saying not found, like so. And that's all cleanly encompassed in one function. There's no additional sort of nested functions in the formula. It is just xLookUp, lookup value, lookup range, return range, and the value if not found. So that's a quick run through. If you wanted to get slightly more fancy, you can do stuff like this. So if, for example, I've been asked to find the average price between, say, items ranked 10 to 20, typically I would just select that range, like so, with my average function. But something you can do with xLookUp is use them to return a range. So in this example, if I just start again from scratch, so you can see what I'm doing, average. And then first of all, I'm going to find the price for rank 10. So I go xLookUp. Get rid of this horrible floating thing. xLookUp look up rank 10 in the rank column, then return the price, colon. So that's telling me that's the beginning of the range, and I want to select everything from that point to xLookUp. And now I'm going to find the price at rank 20. So I'm going to say lookup 20 in the rank column, and then return the price. So you can see I've got the same number there. And what this is doing, if I highlight the cells for you, my first xLookUp is finding this cell here. So I'm rank 10. Oops, just highlight those. And then my second xLookUp is finding this range here, like so. And then where I've got the colon between these two xLookups, it's saying select everything between those two cells, like so. And that's my range. And if I select it manually, there you go. So, but the advantage of doing this is now if I want to change these numbers around, I want to find the average between rank 2 and rank 40. That will then change that selection. That's also pretty handy. So yeah, that's a couple of things you can do with xLookUp. There are more, but for this video, I'm going to leave it there. You can find plenty of reference material on the Microsoft site. Yeah, so that was it really.